How's it going, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Thank you so much for tuning in to Team Draw Phase. I am your host, Low Tier Hero, and with this new season coming up for Season 14, I wanted to share the best settings for dueling. Now, if you're like me who is fairly new to Master Duel, or you're interested in playing Master Duel, I want to give you some tips on how you should have your settings set for duels. This is extremely important because you are able to activate cards in the draw phase, in the standby phase, in the main phase, at the end of any phase, battle phase, and at the end phase. And when you are playing this on your mobile, your computer, or on your console, you may notice that sometimes you aren't given the option of automatically activating a card during the draw phase or the standby phase. And I'm going to explain to you what that issue is. So let's go ahead and jump into those settings. Okay, and we are now in the game settings for dueling. You want to look at self-chain. You want to make sure that self-chain is on. You will receive a prompt when there are cards that can be activated based on you or your opponent's actions. So if you have it on auto, right, it's only going to be based on your opponent's actions when it'll trigger. And if you have it on, you can have the opportunity of manually utilizing your own cards during a self chain. The second thing we want to go ahead and activate is activation confirmation. In addition to the automatic activation, so this is when the game itself will prompt you, hey, main phase is starting, main phase is ending, do you want to activate anything? You want to make sure you click on this and change it from auto to hold one. The reason why you want to change it to hold one is because if you are using a console, you can hold on to the X button, or depending on what type of console that you're using, click on the button that is equivalent to the X button on a PlayStation 5. If you're using a computer, you hold the left trigger. And if you're using your phone, you can go ahead and just hold on to the screen. This, by holding it, will trigger the game to basically state, hey, I may want to activate something during the draw phase or during the standby phase. So this is the most important part, especially when you're utilizing cards like Max C, or when you're playing against Runic and you want to activate Imperial Iron Wall as quickly as possible, or there can be only one or any sort of spell, entrap, and or monster effect that you want to activate during any phase. You want to make sure that you have the ability and not only rely on the game itself. So you want hold one active. That way, again, if you're utilizing your phone, you press your button on the screen at any time. When you're using a console, you hold down that X button. And when you're using a computer, you hold that left trigger button on the mouse. The second thing you want to change is card position. I know it starts off on auto, but you want to make sure you switch it from auto to manual. This is so it allows you to place the cards anywhere on the field. You're probably thinking, what is even the point of that? There are a lot of spells and trap cards and even monster cards like Mech Knights that if you have certain cards on certain parts of the field, they can utilize cards like Broken Line that will trigger. You've got cards like Infinite Impermanence that will basically freeze out a lane. So you want to make sure that you play around the zones. You even have Relinquished Anima that can absorb a monster if it is facing that monster through its link zone. So you want to make sure that you do not fall victim to these what we refer to as misplays. Now, the activation order is you selecting the order of activation. So if you have two cards, for example, we'll utilize the Exo Sisters. When a card is moved from the graveyard, Exo Sister Ellis and Sophia will trigger, but this will allow you to choose which of the two sisters are going to trigger. This goes into play for any other cards that simultaneously activate. This is important because this is how you will chain block your opponent. So you have a card, like we'll use another example, ABC Buster, okay? You utilize B Buster Drake to search, and you utilize A to recycle a card from the graveyard. In order to prevent your B Buster from getting ashed or stopped in any sort of way, you'd activate B Buster first, and on top of that chain, because it's simultaneous, a chain 2 will be your A. That way you recycle and then you get your search, and your opponent will miss timing and you have effectively chain blocked. Displaying a face down card as transparent, I personally like doing that because I don't want to consistently be clicking on the cards of where I had them. So when you put a face down spell or trap or set a monster, you can basically see what monster is set, what spell and trap is set in which respective zone. So it's very cool to have that. I personally use that. It doesn't have any impact on the game mechanic itself, but it does serve as a nice reminder to you, the duelist, where you have certain cards. And the rest of these options, summon cuts, card effects, special summon animations, command placement, this is all going to be preference. The main things that you want to have on, again, are the self chain, the activation confirmation, just so you can activate spells, traps, monsters during any phase at any point in time, and card position, because you want to make sure you play around the zones. And the final most important one is also activation order settings, because it is important that you chain block at any opportunity that you get. That is what makes duelists great, smart, strategic, and competitive players in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. Well, there you have it, folks. This is Low Tier Hero from Team Draw Phase, just bringing you a public service announcement of the best settings for Master Duel. Give them a try, let me know if you like them, and until next time, if you like the video, as always, subscribe. We definitely appreciate it. Thank you, and take care.